I'm Rossum. I'm the Delaware Riverkeeper, and my organization is the Delaware Riverkeeper Network. And I am here tonight to talk to you about the Constitutional Environmental Rights Amendment here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that protects the people's right to pure water, clean air, and a healthy environment. You may or may not know that in Pennsylvania, Article 1, Section 27 of the Constitution does protect our environmental rights. This provision of the Pennsylvania Constitution actually got placed in the Constitution in 1971. But for over 40 years, this provision was largely ignored. It was essentially characterized as a policy statement, and it wasn't given substantive or legal authority. The reason why I'm bringing this to your attention now, today, is because just over a year ago, the Delaware Riverkeeper Network, along with 7 towns, secured a very important Supreme Court decision, Pennsylvania Supreme Court decision, that talks about your obligations in implementing this provision of Pennsylvania's Constitution. Now, the legal action that we brought was in response to a provision passed by the or a piece of legislation passed by the General Assembly called Act 13. That was passed in 2012. And Act 13 was about shale gas extraction, about the shale gas industry. And what Act 13 said a lot of things. One of the things it said was that every municipality had to allow shale gas extraction to happen in every part of their community, and that your municipal zoning authority didn't matter. It actually didn't apply when it came to shale gas extraction. And so you could have drilling well pads as close as 300 feet to a house, a school, a hospital, a playground. It was irrelevant. Your zoning really didn't matter. As you can imagine, the Delaware Riverkeeper Network was very concerned by the environmental and community ramifications of this piece of legislation, but so too were municipal officials and towns across Pennsylvania, because this stripped municipalities of their zoning authority in the context of shale gas extraction. So we brought a legal challenge. The argument that the Delaware Riverkeeper Network and I, in my role as the Delaware Riverkeeper, brought to this legal action was the constitutional provision. We said that these portions of Act 13 violated our environmental rights protected by Article 1, Section 27. And we received a very important decision written by the Chief Justice of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Now you might be, and it declared provisions declared provisions of the law unconstitutional and did a lot of important things. You might be wondering, though, why am I bringing this to your attention? Because we don't have shale gas extraction in Radnor Township. But that's because the decision that was handed down by the Chief Justice, by the Supreme Court, does not apply only to shale gas extraction. It applies to all environmental issues in all communities across Pennsylvania. And so I just want to quickly highlight for you that this decision has been passed. It was passed in December of 2013, and highlight some of the key elements of the court decision that was issued. I actually have a copy of the plurality decision for you, written by the Chief Justice, but I just want to highlight a few key points for you. First off, one of the things that was made very clear by this decision, and actually in a recent decision that has come down after it, is that our environmental rights in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania are on par with our political rights, because they are included in the same section, Article 1 of the Pennsylvania Constitution. What are our political rights? Here are some examples of what our political rights are in Pennsylvania. Things like religious freedom, the freedom of the press, freedom of speech, the right to bear arms. These are political rights that are protected, well protected by Pennsylvania's Constitution. So too are our environmental rights protected by this portion of Pennsylvania's Constitution. The Chief Justice in the plurality decision made very clear that when it came to our environmental rights, it's not just an obligation of the state legislature to protect those rights, to honor that constitutional provision, but local governments have that obligation as well. And that was mentioned several times in the opinion. So you, as municipal officials, have an obligation to ensure that Article 1, Section 27 is honored here in Radnor Township. The decision made very clear that all forms of government in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania have an obligation, have a duty to refrain from permitting environmental degradation, but also a duty to restrain the actions of others that could result in environmental degradation, and that you yourselves have an obligation not to undertake actions that could directly violate people's environmental rights here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. There was, by the way, there's a lot of discussion about the fact that this is a plurality opinion, and what does that mean? Well, there are a whole lot of reasons. We have some recent decision-making out of the Commonwealth Court of Pennsylvania that is affirming all of these elements of the Supreme Court decision. And so if somebody claims to you it's a plurality opinion, and so therefore these things that I'm talking about don't really matter, you should set that aside.
You mean that not a majority voted on the case because of absences, but rather
So when it came to the
less than a majority, but nevertheless still held. More people, more justices voted for it than against it.
A majority of the justices agreed that the certain provisions of Act 13 that were declared unconstitutional were unconstitutional. It was 3 justices that primarily based their decision on Article 1, Section 27. None of the other justices disagreed with the Article 1, Section 27 language that was passed. According to the Chief Justice plurality opinion, it's very clear that decision-making that's undertaken by government officials in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has to be, when it comes to this Environmental Rights Amendment, has to be science-based. It's very clear that you have to be considering individual environmental impacts, but also cumulative environmental impacts. And you have to be looking to protect the quality of our environment, not just for the generations who are here today, but for the generations who are yet to come. And that if there is a violation of the Constitution, the constitutional right to pure water, clean air, and a healthy environment, as articulated by Article 1, Section 27, the people as individuals have a right to bring a legal action to enforce that aspect of the Constitution. And that's, in fact, what I and my organization and the 7 towns did. We went directly, we went with a direct challenge under the Constitution against Act 13 and succeeded. So just in summary, really quick, right? It was made very clear by Chief Justice Castile that the people of Pennsylvania have a right to pure water, clean air, and a healthy environment, that these are inherent and indefeasible rights that are not granted by Pennsylvania's Constitution, but they are recognized by Pennsylvania's Constitution. And by virtue of the fact that they are included in Article 1, Section 27, every government official at every level of government in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has an obligation to honor and protect our environmental rights as they're articulated in the Constitution. That in order to carry forth this obligation, you have to engage in science-based decision-making, that when you are seeking to achieve any of your high priority goals, whether it be jobs, economic health, education, public safety, whatever the other priority it is that you're seeking to achieve, you have to seek to pass a decision or render a decision that at the same time will protect our environmental rights. You can't let those other goals trump our environmental rights, and frankly, the environmental rights don't trump those other goals. So you have to try to find a way to accommodate them both at the same time. But that really, by virtue of the Supreme Court decision and a subsequent Commonwealth Court decision, that what we have in Pennsylvania is that, as was recently said, that there is a thumb on the scale in the decision-making process towards environmental protection and restoration. That your obligation is to be thinking about not just what does it mean for the people who are sitting in the room today, but your obligation is to protect environmental quality for the generations to come. And that really raises the bar on the level of thinking and protection that you have to pursue in your decision making. And I am giving to you not only a copy of the actual plurality opinion that's so important that I just briefly went through, but I'm also providing you a document, some frequently asked questions that we have put together for municipal officials and citizens who have been asking about this decision and what does it mean. A lot of these frequently asked questions, about half of them apply to shale gas extraction communities, but there are ones that apply to the broader environmental issue. We also have a special website for the generations.org where we are creating additional materials to talk about this Supreme Court decree and what it means for Pennsylvania officials and citizens. And so if you are interested in learning more over time, you'll be able to find those documents at forthegenerations.org.
Okay,
So,
thank you very much.
Thank you.